Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Stephanie from Lumeria Star. So today I wanted to do an unboxing and walkthrough of the Vlad Dracula Tarot. This is by Travis McHenry, and this is a Rockpool published deck. So I haven't really looked through this at all, so I thought we could kind of do like my first impressions as well. And since it's spooky season, and spooky season for me lasts well into November. So this is just the time of year for this. So let's just get in the box and see what the cards look like. So first off, I want to mention that this deck box feels amazing. It's that like buttery rose petal finish, and I just love the feel of that. So that this deck just feels very like luxurious in my hands. So for a mass market deck, this is really nice quality. And you can see like the title here is like gold foil. So you can see like the light reflecting off of it. So that's really nice. So a little bit about the deck here. It says, Vlad the Impaler's life is much scarier than any blood-sucking Dracula. So like sidebar, I love, if you guys know me, I love anything horror, anything like macabre and dark and scary, Halloween, things like that. But I've actually never read Bram Stoker's Dracula. So I don't know if some of the references will be lost on me, but I'm really curious to learn about it. So I'm kind of going into this not really knowing any information. So it says here, Vlad Dracula, the infamous medieval ruler of Romania, is the inspiration for Bram Stoker's legendary vampire and this tarot deck and booklet. Okay, see, so I didn't even know Vlad Dracula was an actual medieval ruler in Romania, and I didn't know that that was the inspiration for Dracula, so that's pretty cool already. It says here, with factual and divinatory text by Travis McHenry, author of the Occult Tarot and Angel Tarot. Okay, so those are very popular decks. I don't have either of them. I am kind of interested in the Occult Tarot, not so much the Angel one. I've realized I'm having like a harder time connecting to angel energy, but I know those decks are really popular in the community. It says here, 78 original woodcuts drawn by Russian artist Nikita Voymin, I don't know if I pronounced that right. This historically accurate tarot deck can be used as a divination tool or cherished as a macabre work of art. So I love that because a lot of my decks are just cherished for being artwork. So this is the inside of the box. Again, really beautiful artwork. And I do really love this like woodcut style art. So let's move that over to the side. And then we've got a ribbon here for the book, which looks pretty thick. So we're going to definitely look at that. And then let's take the deck of cards out. So we have here like that little tray, and it looks like it's sealed throughout. So it's not like your cards are going to like fall all over the place. So let's just close that up. Let's take a look at the cards. Let's take the plastic off. And we'll look at the guidebook after our walkthrough. But these are the backs. And for cardstock, it feels matte. I'm wondering how this will shuffle. It feels sturdy. It does have the gold gilding that some people might be concerned, you know, it might chip. That never really bothers me. I expect decks to get like worn in, so you know, any wear and tear just never really bothers me. But so far, like the cardstock feels nice. So, okay, so let's just kind of look through the cards. I might comment on some of the artwork, or others I'll just kind of like flip through. But here, let me move this closer to the camera. So this is the Fool, and we have that like woodcut artwork that was described in the back of the book or on the box, and it says here, the peasant and his wife. So it looks like each card might tell a little bit of what's going on in the scene, which is cool. So here we have the magician, and this says Vlad Dracula. So we know that's actual Vlad Dracula himself. The High Priestess is Vlad's Transylvanian princess. The Empress, and here's a quote, "Let the world see where I have been." And it looks like she's been cut open. Did they take out, did they steal some organs there? I don't know. That's interesting. So we will look at that. The Emperor, this is Mehmed the Conqueror. So I'm not sure who that is. So hopefully the guidebook gives more information on who these people are. So here we have the Lovers, and it says Vlad and his wife. So I'm wondering how the wife is different than Vlad's princess. Unless, no, that she looks like the same character. So that must be his wife, the High Priestess. The Chariot, Vlad's army repelling the Turks. So I'm guessing if you are a historian or history buff, love history, and you've studied this kind of history, this deck might be like extra enjoyable for you. So here we have Strength, your whole being belongs to hell. Seems like quite the man. The Hermit, Vlad imprisoned in Visegrad. And it looks like, oh my goodness, it looks like he's impaling these like rats. So he was, sounds like he was a pretty terrible person if he was called Vlad the Impaler. Next we have the Wheel of Fortune. These suffered according to their deeds. So he sounds like quite the tyrant and kind of like sadist. Justice, Vlad as Pontius Pilate judging Christ. Interesting. The Hanged Man, the wages of truth in Wallachia. I love the artwork. I mean, I really don't know these stories and I don't know what's happening, but just from the artwork alone, I do enjoy this. Death, Vlad beheaded by the Ottomans. Temperance, a slow execution. That looks awful, and that does not look like the energy I think of with Temperance. But again, I'll be interested to see what the guidebook has to say. Maybe this system kind of goes its own way, so we'll find out. The Devil, we have Vlad the Impaler himself, which totally makes sense because he sounds like a horrific person. The Tower, better her body rot than be led to captivity. So I don't know if he killed his wife or pushed her out of a building. I don't know what's going on there. We'll find out. The Star, watching blood flow gave him courage. So he is definitely like a sadist type individual where he, you know, takes pleasure in other people's pain and misfortune. The Moon, Vlad betrayed by the Hungarians. The Sun, Vlad and Radu released from captivity. I'm not sure who that is. Judgment, Vlad's father and brother murdered. The World, Vlad Dracula anointed as Voivod. I don't know what that means. We'll find out. Okay, so now we go into our minors. So this is the Ace of Coins. It says coin of Vlad Dracula. Two of Coins, Vlad Dracula and Vlad Dracul. So I don't even know who that is. So I'm gonna have to do my research. Three of Coins, Saxons building the Bucharest Palace. 4, Vlad paying tribute to the Ottomans. So I can see this deck being really cool, just like learning more about this part of history, which I am not familiar with at all. So this, for those of you who like that aspect of certain tarot decks, like I can see you really loving this. So the 5 of Coins, Vlad attacking foraging Ottoman soldiers. 6 of Coins, wealthy Saxon merchants of Transylvania. 7 of Coins, boyars forced to build Castle Dracula. 8 of Coins is a quote, I have found an extra ducat. 9 of coins, a farmer must cut the weeds and roots. 10 of coins, Vlad's hidden treasure. Page, Vlad the monk, Vlad Dracula's brother. Okay, so now we know who that is. Minia the bad, Vlad's eldest son. Justina, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, Vlad's second wife. So I guess he threw the first wife out of the tower, maybe? King of coins is Dan the Third, forced to dig his own grave. That's very dark. Ace of Cups, Vlad's golden chalice. 2 of Cups, Vlad's promises to Hungary and Turkey. 3 of Cups, Vlad and the Benedictine monks. 4 of Cups, the beggar's feast. 5 of Cups, no one will be poor in my realm. I do love how this is like telling a story. I can see this being really fun to work with. 6 of Cups, Romanians honoring Vlad Dracula. 7 of Cups, serving soup from a boiled thief. Very dark. 8 of Cups, Saxon traitors boiled alive. Very, very dark. 9 of Cups, Rhodes celebrating Vlad's victories. 10 of Cups, Vlad Dracula and his family. So that's, I guess, like one of the nicest cards in the deck, but he's not doing anything terrible in this card. Page of Cups, we have young Vlad watching executions. So he's kind of like learning maybe some future behaviors. Knight of Cups, Radu the handsome, Vlad's brother. Maybe he was kind of like a playboy, or yeah, maybe he was just kind of like a ladies' man. I don't know. Queen of Cups, Princess Maria Wojcita of Moldovia. King of Cups is Prince Stephen III of Moldovia. Ace of Stakes, which I'm guessing is the wands, is the impaling stake. 2 of Stakes, the deceit of Hamza and Catabolinos. 3 of Stakes, that's very aggressive. Dracula's dreadful and curious things. So I'm wondering, I guess, no, that's wands. That gives me like 3 of Swords energy, but you know, I guess we can see what the meanings are in the book. 4 of Stakes, the courtyard at Targovist Palace. 5 of Stakes, Wallachinians fighting the Ottomans. Wallachians. 6 of Stakes, the forest of the impaled. Also very dark. More darkness. I think the whole suit of Stakes is pretty rough. He placed their parts on stakes. 8 of Stakes, arrows drove the Turks to their ships. 9 of Stakes, Vlad Dracula dining among the impaled. 10 of Stakes, killed by many spears, and thus he died. So I guess that is how he died. I guess we'll find out. Page of Stakes is Chief Falconer Hamza Bey. Knight of Stakes is Voivod Bazarab III. Queen of Stakes is Lady Kalinikia, Vlad's great-grandmother. King of Stakes is Emperor Sigismund. Okay, and now we're in swords. So this is the Ottoman Khiliji. 2 of Swords, cutting the ears off a Turkish slave. That's terrible. 3 of Swords, the nailing of the turbans. Yikes. 4 of Swords, tomb of Vlad Dracula. 5 of Swords, Radu attacking Ponari Castle. Some of these are sticking together. 6 of Swords, Wallachians crossing the frozen Danube. 7 of Swords, Vlad's narrow escape. 8 of Swords, Vlad led to Hungarian captivity. 9 of Swords, Radu the handsome and Sultan Mehmed. 10 of Swords, Michael Siligi, sawn in half. That's really rough. So Michael was also the regent of Hungary. Knight of Swords, Captain General John Hunyadi. Queen of Swords is Queen Mother Elizabeth Siligi. And King of Swords is King Matthias of Hungary. So this is going to be an interesting deck just because I don't know anything about this part of history. I do like darker things, and I can see myself really enjoying learning about this. So let's take a look at the guidebook, and then we can pull a card and kind of see what that's all about. So this is a really nice guidebook. Also has that nice like rose petally velvety finish. So for a mass market deck, that's really nice quality. So we have our title page, Vlad Dracula Tarot. I really do like this woodcut style art. Okay, so we have our table of contents. So you can look up the card by the page number. So we have an introduction here. So this will be interesting to read just because I am not familiar with this history very well. So using the Vlad Dracula Tarot, so you could do, interesting, you could do a personality reading. So I'm going to look into that. Reading for overcoming weaknesses. Here is a Orthodox cross spread. So it says here, as Vlad Dracula was a member of the Eastern Orthodox Church for most of his life, it makes sense to implement a new kind of cross in place of the traditional Celtic cross for this deck. Interesting. Okay. So this is this book's version of like the Celtic cross. And then we go into our major arcana. So it looks like for each card, we do get like a smaller color version. We get the name, we get the like the little like title on the bottom. And it looks like we get a little bit of the history of what's going on in the card and then a divinatory meaning. So that's pretty cool. So we have that through the majors. And let's take a look how much they have for the minors. So it looks like they have just as much information for each minor, which is pretty cool. So yeah, we have the story of what's going on and then the divinatory meaning. So we have that through all of the minors. And then let's see, King of Swords, we have our bibliography. It looks like Travis McHenry really did his research. I think if I remember correctly, he was, I mean, clearly he was very passionate about learning about this when he was younger. I think I read that somewhere. So this is the author. He also created the occult tarot and angel tarot. Oh, he is a native of rural Pennsylvania. So am I. That's cool. Acknowledgements and then a little advertisement. Okay. So let us pull a card and see what we get. Whoops. All right, I think what I'm going to do is maybe I'll pull 2 or 3 and maybe we can kind of tell a story. We'll see. All right, let's see how riffle shuffling this is on camera. Pretty nice. All right, so let's see what message is coming through for us with the Vlad Dracula Tarot. So we have the 2 of Swords. So we've got Vlad cutting the ears off a Turkish slave. We've got the Lovers, so that's him and his wife. That's one of the really not graphic or violent cards. And we've got the Hierophant, which is Pope Pius II. So let's just take a look at what the book has to say about these. So let's go to the Two of Swords and see what's going on with this scene where he is cutting the ears off a Turkish slave. So it says here, the warfare of medieval Europe was far more ghastly and brutal than is the warfare of today. Although artillery was beginning to prove useful in the 1400s, it was not widespread, and soldiers were expected to get their hands dirty if they hoped to survive against the enemy. Many chroniclers relate detailing concerning Vlad's hands-on approach to violence, and particularly the cutting of lips, noses, and ears. When Vlad led a strike against the Ottoman city of Nicopolis, he hacked the ears, noses, and heads off men, women, and children, gathered them in a bag, and sent them to Hungary as proof of his success. Brutal. From the Byzantine era, the removal of victims' ears and noses was a common practice among soldiers as evidence of victory, and soldiers were paid extra bonuses based on the number of victims they had killed. It was much easier to transport small parts of the head to prove their ability as a warrior rather than the entire head. During his sojourn in the Middle East, Napoleon commented that Ottoman soldiers seemed more interested in removing ears from the dead than they did in actually fighting against the French. So that's interesting to learn about. So if you're a history person, you might really enjoy this deck. And then it says here, divinatory meaning, indecision, trouble, and inner balance. As a card of balance and decision, the Two of Swords can be very confusing as it combines the meaning of the twos of other suits. The inability to make a decision between two courses of action will inevitably lead to trouble as you seek inner balance. So that's kind of how we know the Two of Swords. And then it goes into the meaning with the image, and it says here, in the image, a Turkish slave kneeling to accept his fate has already lost one ear and is about to lose a second. Vlad's force represents the unknown future you cannot properly see and against which you are powerless. However, there is hope because the slave is going to live, but only after balance has been achieved by the removal of the second ear. So again, that's a really dark interpretation, but I can see how the author kind of like put that image with the meaning. So let's just look at the Lovers. Okay. So this is Vlad and his wife. It says, Vlad Dracula's second wife was Justina Zilagi, a Hungarian noblewoman. They were married for just 3 years, from 1474 to 1477. Vlad had numerous mistresses and 2 marriages that were matters of political convenience intended to secure loyalty and support. His wives must have pleased him to some extent, or they probably would have found themselves impaled on a stake. Vlad's first wife married him before he regained his throne, when his political position was still precarious, and bore him 3 children. So that is, I guess this is his second wife. So it says here for divinatory meaning, passion, love, and attraction. The Lover's card can represent a specific couple or a general positive feeling of love. Vlad and his wife are shown holding hands while standing upon the battlements of a castle. Their foundation is strong, not vulnerable to attack, but in the distance stand Turkish archers, ever ready to send their arrows to the end of the blissful union. So yep, they're right there. And it says, no matter how strong a relationship may seem, they are vulnerable to outside influences that can come in many forms. A change of location or job status, the introduction of a third party, or an internal change of heart. While the Lover's card represents a celebration of love, it should also serve as a warning to remain vigilant against potential intrusions into bliss. When partners are prepared to face challenges together, the union will remain solid. So yeah, this is just like a really interesting deck. I mean, I think it's going to be really cool to learn a little bit more about the actual historical person that was just so awful and evil that he is what inspired Bram Stoker to create the vampire Dracula. So I think that'll be really cool to learn. And, even if you're not like a historian or a lover of history, I think this artwork is just really cool in itself. So, oh wait, I was pulling to see what this deck has to teach me. So 2 of Cups, Vlad's promises to Hungary and Turkey. So I might have a really strong bond with this deck, despite not really having any prior knowledge on Vlad Dracula. But it seems like it's cool, it's dark, it's macabre. It'll teach you some things about history that you might not have known before. So yeah, this was like a pretty cool walkthrough and first impressions for me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Is it a deck that you have? How do you use it? Are you into learning about history, or are you a Dracula fan? Is this something on your wish list? Like, let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you want to see more videos of mine, like, please like this video and also subscribe so I, can create more content. And I'm new to YouTube, so I definitely want to get my videos out and share that with others. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, everyone. Bye.